Hey everybody, Mike Walter. Welcome to my video of the week. And yes, I'm wearing a Mets jersey this time around, and there's a good reason for it, and a little bit of a message that I want to share in my video of the week. I don't know if you saw this. If you're not a baseball fan, you might have missed it. But this year at the Hall of Fame inductions, Baseball Hall of Fame inductions, Mike Piazza, who caught for the Los Angeles Dodgers and then also for the New York Mets, was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And he went in with the honor, I think it's an honor, yeah, I'd say it's an honor, of being the lowest drafted player ever to make the Hall of Fame. As a matter of fact, he will probably always have that honor because he was drafted in 1988 in the 62nd round. Back in the 80s and prior to that, baseball used to just keep drafting as long as teams wanted to continue drafting players. They allowed it, so the draft was kind of unlimited. They stopped when teams ran out of players that they wanted to select. But nowadays they cut off the draft at the I think it's the 50th round. So I don't know that a player will ever be that poorly drafted. They'll probably just be a free agent if they ever get in. So Mike Piazza goes in as the lowest drafted player in the history of baseball to make the Hall of Fame. As a matter of fact, he was the 1,390th player selected that year, which means 1,389 players were selected, and I don't believe anybody else, I could have this wrong, but I don't believe anybody else in that class, in that 1988 draft, made the Hall of Fame. So think about that, 1,389 players selected before him. And if you know anything about baseball, you probably know the story. The only reason the Dodgers drafted him was that Tommy Lasorda and Mike Piazza's dad were good friends. So it was kind of like a favor that the organization did to for Lasorda and for a friend of his that they drafted Mike Piazza. In fact, when Piazza was drafted, he was a first baseman, and early in his minor league career, Tommy Lasorda recommended, hey man, why don't you move to catcher because you'll never make it to the major leagues as a first baseman. And he moved to catcher and basically became one of the greatest hitting catchers of all time. So it's a little bit of a history lesson, but I think there's a great moral to the story, and that is don't ever let anybody tell you what you can do and what your limitations are. You know, Mike Piazza could have said, man, there's 29 teams in baseball that don't want me, and even the Dodgers only wanted me after 61 other draft picks. Why am I bothering doing this? I obviously don't have the skills to do this. He could have said that, and he could have gone on to a different career, but instead he believed in his ability and he worked hard. And that's one of the things you heard a lot about during Piazza's induction, that everyone talked about. He was always the hardest working guy on the team, and he honed his skills and he became really a great ball player and probably the best offensive catcher of all time. I know Johnny Bench fans might disagree with that, but certainly one of the best offensive catchers of all time. Besides the fact that he hit that amazing, historic, uplifting home run for the Mets in the first game played after the 9/11 tragedy, which will always be a highlight in Mike Piazza's career. So I tip my cap. I wish I was wearing a cap, that would have been more appropriate, but I tip my cap to Mike Piazza and the overall moral of the story. Don't ever let anybody else define you. You decide how far you go based on your effort, based on your ability, and based on your determination.
Everybody's coming down to meet the Mets of New York, Tom of New York.